If a keyboard and pastries had a baby, you get the Yunzii C75 Cake Meow mechanical keyboard. This doesn't only resemble icing by the sides, but it also has this cat face on the top middle of the keyboard along with bumps that look like cat ears. If this isn't already obvious, this keyboard is for cat lovers and dessert worshippers. This keyboard is really very interesting in terms of build because not only is it purely made of plastic, but you also get a lot of silicone parts, which kind of affects the overall build. And of course, we will talk more about that in the latter segments. This was made in the 75% compact layout, which includes a dedicated print screen near the upper right corner of the keyboard. I personally use print screen a lot at work, but this is a huge plus. Then, inside the box, you get a lot of freebies, which I will enumerate in the next segment, but just wanted a huge shout out to Yunzii for adding in a mouse pad. Before we continue with specs, hi, my name is Daniel with the Biboyharanero team, and we've been reviewing keyboards, mice, and audio gear for gamers since 2019. And currently, we are expanding the range of products that we feature. Glad to have you on this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Now, this keyboard is a tri-mode mechanical keyboard, meaning it connects via wired or Bluetooth with up to 3 devices and wireless via a low latency USB dongle. The dongle, by the way, is stored underneath its paw foot. And that did take me some time to realize. The keyboard is powered by a 5500 mAh battery pack inside, which I think is just enough for a 75% keyboard with lots of RGB. The keyboard features a flex-cut PC plate, which adds to the overall thocky sound profile of the keyboard. And I think the sound profile is greatly produced by the Yunzii Candy linear switches with 45 gram springs within. They sound really thocky and good, especially when paired with a fully dampened keyboard like this one. If you do not like the switches, you may freely replace them as this has a universal hot swap 3-pin or 5-pin compatible south-facing PCB. Now I tested this out for gaming and it did perform as expected. I didn't turn gay in the process, there was no delays, no interferences, no BS performance. But I did feel something weird with the keycaps, but I will talk more about that in the third segment of this video, which we will go over after we talk about build. Inside the box, you get the keyboard, cable, key puller combo, documentation with stickers, cat stickers, mouse pad, extra keycaps with Mac keys, and a PET dust cover. I love that they added in a PET dust cover so that these will have better dust protection, so leave it on when you're not using the keyboard and make it a habit so. I love that they added in extra keycaps in here for more customization on the hardware level. You even get 6 novelties with a command and option button for Mac users. Yunzii did really carefully think how they would manage the box inclusions, and they did things just right. The cable is really good and it isn't entirely white. It's kind of off-white with a braided wire. Now, onto the keyboard. It is heavy compared to other 75% keyboards that I've tried. The sides of the keyboard has silicone on it, which kind of resembles icing. Aesthetically, it's good, especially if it's new, but in due time, it may accumulate dust and may eventually turn sticky, but that is a tendency only in humid places like the Philippines. Now, I did mention that this keyboard is really heavy, and that is thanks to all silicone parts of this keyboard, which includes the silicone side panels, silicone feet, and silicone internal dampers. Speaking of dampers, this is fully dampened with, again, a silicone bottom pad, which does the best job of absorbing vibrations and hollowness on any keyboard. Underneath the keyboard are again silicone feet without any kick-up mechanism, so you can't angle the keyboard. On the bright side, you get a cattail underneath. Not sure why that is on the bright side, but yeah, let's move on. The keycaps are made of die-sub PBTs in MOA profile. The MOA profile is kind of designed to feel really ergonomic on the fingers as the edges are rounded and you get a groove in the middle of each keycap. Gliding your finger on top of the keycaps feel really smooth. However, I did find that I need some time to adapt to this keycap profile, and this is due to the flat rows without any curvature. Cherry profile is my preferred keycaps, and Cherry profile has a taller R4 and R1 versus R2 and R3. And I'm talking about the rows of the keycaps, by the way. So this is where the disconnect happens, but again, you will adapt after some time of use. Moving on, stabilizer performance was really good as rattling is very minimal. I checked the stabilizers and they are very tightly placed on the plate. They're also generously lubricated, and this is something I did expect because Yunzii's keyboards are always very good in terms of stabilizer performance. I personally don't think modifying them is necessary, but that's something you can still do, such as redoing the stab wire with more dielectric grease. Now, onto the Candy linear switches. Again, these have 45-gram springs within, which I think is the perfect balance for typing and gaming. The lighter the spring weight, the better for faster keystrokes, while the heavier the spring weight, the better for avoiding typos. My personal standard is 40-gram springs and below for gaming, and 45-gram springs and above for typing. If you got heavy fingers, then you might disagree. Anyhow, here's a quick sound test for you guys. Now, on to aesthetics. My comments might be a little offensive, but do note that I don't mean to offend with my comments. First and foremost, I think it's very obvious that the keyboard is very feminine, with the pinks, the yellows, and the light blues, and of course the cat-shaped ears on the keyboard make it look very girly. It doesn't mean that men shouldn't use this, as I personally would if I had no other keyboard in my arsenal, and I'd find no issues with it. My homophobic father might, but not me. This is offered in 4 colorways, which we are showing you in the B-roll right now, and we got the beige colored one, which I think is the most neutral of all colorways. Again, if you're offended because I think this is a girly keyboard, I apologize, because I'm not sorry. The keyboard is not minimalist given the design, and I think if this were used in a black setup, it would add a lot of contrast, but may not be entirely suitable design-wise. Bright, colorful setups, I believe, is where this will fit in. This is riddled with RGB everywhere, not only on the keys, but also at the silicone side panels. The RGB, by the way, glows all over the keyboard, from the bottom to the sides and the top side of the keyboard. There are lots of RGB controls on the keyboard, and I don't think it's necessary for me to go over each, because there's just a lot. Speaking of RGB, they're really very bright on this keyboard. They make the keys look as if they're floating on colored air, which is the usual comment I make for bright LEDs. But I also noticed that the LEDs do not cause glare, and I'm not sure how it's possible. I think it's probably with the MOA keycap profile. Overall, I think the keyboard will not suit everybody's taste, and it's not made to blend in any setup. But it is a really special keyboard that would suit a really special PC build. With all the freebies you get in the box and the unique layers of the keyboard, including the silicone materials used on it, there's so much value that the keyboard offers. But yeah, aesthetic-wise, it's just not for everybody. I think I've mentioned all things that I feel is important in this review, but let me know if you have any questions down in the comments section below. I will also leave links in the description on where to get the Yunzii C75 Meow mechanical keyboard. I'll see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.